they want you to focus more on the click or the tracks that are laid down. Because I have gotten into some situations where I'm locked right with the click, and then they want it to be more with the music that's already been played. So for my own personal taste, when I make play-alongs, I like to make them without the click, so that when I share them with my students, they're focused on the music. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But I do like to have the music in ears so I can really hear it. When you're playing drums, drums are loud, as we know, and you're trying to play to a play-along in front of a clinic audience or something like that, and it's just coming through monitors, it can be challenging to hear that when you're also playing the drums. So if you're using IEM in-ear monitors, you're on the right path, and that's what I like to do too.
It looks like YouTube is being a little funky right now. Facebook's still going strong, but yeah, we're having a little bit of tech issues with YouTube, and I think it's on YouTube's end because it was streaming and then YouTube cut off, but we're still sending it a signal. So, sorry, YouTube.
Wow, I don't know what happened there, but
sorry, YouTube.
Facebook is still going.
Facebook's still rocking. Next question. I just ordered a set of mini timbales, and they seem to come with black heads. I noticed yours are fitted with, it looks like, white Remo heads. Is there a reason why you changed them?
Yes. I'll be honest, because I'm a little bit OCD, and I like all of my heads to be the same. So, as soon as I get them, I change them out and put white coated ambassadors. So, Nick, you can go back to the overhead. So, these are coated ambassadors. I like to line up the logos with the badges. And you'll notice, I've got tape on here. I like to have them just to the right of the badges. I'm a little OCD when it comes to all that.
I don't know if you can see it in the back, but all the badges are facing out in the back.
Yeah, and then sometimes I intentionally turn them around so you can see the mufflers. Those are cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that OCD, but
we all have our things.
A little bit.
I'm OCD about wires.
Right. You should see Nick's wire running techniques.
Like there's some wires. I mean, it's kind of driving me crazy. There are a couple wires that are a little out of whack.
A little askew.
it's making me kind of cringe a little. Sorry.
That's
Sorry,
right.
Everybody out there about my wire.
We've been busy, man. We've been streaming out in public and safely distanced and masked up, but we've been doing it. So we've been ripping and running. I will get into Nikos's question if there aren't any other more general questions.
Let me just scroll just for a second. Some of them are. There's more like. Let's see. Yeah, so all the other questions are kind of. I mean, like one. I mean, you've answered this. We've talked about this a lot, but someone was asking. How did you enjoy changing styles, like playing hard rock with Corrosion of Conformity?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a ton. I mean, I love playing like that, and it's funny. Pepper just texted me and Scarrick just a couple days ago. We did a project called Curb Feeler over 15 years ago, and it hasn't been released. And now, with the extra time that we've been having, Pepper reached out and he was like, "Man, let's release that Curb Feeler." And we did that. We started that before I did the COC record. So Pepper knew that I could hit hard. He knew I could groove. He knew I could play a shuffle. And we had already started recording that Curb Feeler stuff. So he knew my work ethic in the studio. I mean, we had known each other since I was probably, 16 years old or something. And Pepper's a few years older than me. And so we've known each other since we were teenagers, And I love playing with Pep. He's an amazing musician, an incredible songwriter, and singer. So I think you'll be seeing some more from us coming out. This Curb Feeler thing is super, super cool. Can't wait for everyone to hear it. And thanks for reminding me to reach out to Pep and keep the ball rolling on getting that released. And we talked a lot about my playing with COC, I think last week or the week before.
Yeah.
But, you know, definitely it's coming from a Black Sabbath type of heavy. And keep in mind that Bill Ward and John Bonham, I mean, both their records came out in both of their first records came out in 1969, and there was no such thing as heavy metal yet. And those guys were basically, they had grown up playing in blues bands, and so then Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, their records came out, they got heavier and heavier, and their drums got bigger and bigger, but those guys were coming from a blues background, really, and they both knew how to play shuffles. And since you asked, I get this request a few times every now and then to play a little bit of the Groove to Stonebreaker, and it is a shuffle. So check this out. Nice. Nick, is your lav still on when I was playing? Okay. So now I'm gonna play a little bit, and I'm gonna shift between that shuffle and some of my vocabulary, and then a regular shuffle, and then I'm gonna swing out and show you that some of my vocabulary is just coming from my swing and, you know, jazz, for lack of a better word, vocabulary. Check it out.
Nice.
So I'm just taking some of the things that I've been doing for a while. I remember, man, there were some of the fills I played were basically coming from jazz vocabulary. Check this out. I was doing some of that on some of the tunes. I'm gonna pick it up in tempo. Same vocabulary. Check it out. So those are things that I've come up with to play. Anytime that I learn a new idea, like I'll check out transcriptions, I'll check out stuff other guys have played, but I will take that and then I try to improvise with it, come up with my own thing, and then I try to figure out how to make it work in jazz or swing and funk, right? And I play that a lot. I'm sure any of you who are familiar with my playing have heard that a lot. And I call it, what, flammed sextuplets, and it's turned into a three-note phrase. So any drummers that are watching this wondering what is that I'm doing, I'm playing a flam accent, but then I'm just playing it all off the left hand. So I play one of those and then sextuplets, right? So but then sometimes I'll accent the quarter note triplet of the sextuplet. And you know that I use that in shuffles all the time. So whenever I figure out something or discover something or change it and alter it a little bit to suit my situation, I'll learn how to play it in a bunch of different contexts. Swing, funk, heavier stuff with COC. You know, to me, vocabulary is vocabulary. And I like to find vocabulary that I can use in a lot of different situations. Because I like playing all kinds of different music. Cool.
Want some more questions?
Well, I do. Since we're getting into the drum stuff, Nikos.
There's a bunch of drum stuff here.
Bunch of drum stuff. Well, Nikos, I want to talk about that beat that you mentioned. And for any of you who aren't familiar with this beat yet, check it out. It's John Schofield. The record is Flat Out. And it's his version of Sissy Strut. And Johnny Vidakovich plays what I think is one of the slinkiest second line grooves I've ever heard. And
is it weird that the first time I ever heard Sissy Strut was actually that version?
Well, it's not weird because you grew up in the 80s, right?
Yeah, in 90s, 80s, late
Yeah.
80s, 90s, yeah.
And I mean, those Meters records, some of them were out of print at that time.
Yeah, and then one person was like, "Oh, that's a Meters tune." I'm like, "Who are the Meters?" And they're
Yeah.
like, "Dude, you're from New Orleans. You don't know Meters?"
Well, check this out. And Nikos, I think I'm going to play it and then we're going to talk about it. Check it out. Now, what's so cool about it, all right, it's 3 rights and then a left. So right, 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 left, okay? And then it's just all right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left. Play it slow. Now, what's really cool is that I've come to realize just how very similar that is to Big Chief. So here's the beat to Big Chief. All right, so now I'm going to slow Big Chief down, put the right hand on the hi-hat. Then every other measure, I'm going to play Big Chief, then I'm going to play the Johnny V thing. Johnny's just filling in Big Chief with his right hand. Check it out. But now I'm going to slow it down even further. Johnny slows it down even further and plays it all slinky style. Check it out. And I've written out a whole lesson on that, and Nick and I have actually filmed a lesson on that, but I don't think you finished it, but I don't think I posted it.
I think it's in the Gorilla Lessons.
Yeah, it's either in Gorilla Lessons or New Releases, but it's on the Academy, which, not to give myself a shameless plug, but if you want to see more about what I have to offer teaching-wise, it's all up on StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com, and you can check it out, 14-day trial. There's a trial up there. I would love for you to check it out. Please do. Tell them, Nikos. So hopefully that answers your question. And I could talk about that beat forever, man. I've taken that beat and come up with so many different variations on it. As soon as Johnny showed it to me, I was like, oh, man, I could totally put my right hand anywhere on the kit and it'll sound great. Yeah. Cool. All right. Nick, you said there were a bunch of drum questions in there?
There are some drum questions. Hang on, let me scroll up.
Scroll up.
Let's see. I love the groove on Kooks on Parade. Would you be willing to just play that for a bit, maybe talk about it?
Yeah, I would. And to be honest with you, that's funny. I think it's basically based off that beat right there. I can't remember. I'd have to listen to it where I had my right hand, but it's basically that beat. And I might have started it on the rim, but that is like man. And then I just started kind of improvising with the left side stuff, kind of sticking to that groove. And then I didn't have any of this left side stuff yet when I was doing that record, Kooks on Parade. That record came out in 1998. I'm really showing my age. And that was that was my first solo record. So, Nick, are we still on the overhead? Killer. So yeah, that was my first solo record, and the beat was very much based off of that, which I just demonstrated, that Nico's asked about, that Johnny V beat to Sissy Strut, John Schofield Sissy Strut. And I will say this, if y'all like that style of drumming, that Johnny Vodakovich, like snare drum, slinky snare drum stuff, I'm checking Spotify. I know Spotify, we don't really like Spotify. It's a useful tool. It doesn't pay musicians, that's true. But I'm hoping that at some point we'll be able to get them to where they do pay musicians. And right now, it's a useful tool. And I can tell you that this record I want you to check out. I want to see if it's up here. Before I tell you to check it out. Okay, yeah. So the name of the record is Testimony, and it's John Mooney. So John Mooney Testimony and Professor Longhair Crawfish Fiesta are the two records that have all the Johnny Vodakovich super slinky snare drum stuff. Nikos, if you haven't checked out John Mooney Testimony yet, you're going to lose your mind. It's your new favorite record. It's absolutely stellar. It's Johnny Vodakovich on drums, George Porter Jr. on bass, and John Mooney. And it's just absolutely stellar. So that beat is played at least once or twice on Testimony, and at least once on Crawfish Fiesta, Professor Longhair. Any more questions coming in on drum stuff or anything?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
There's
We've only got 6 minutes left, man. Time,
really? Seriously?
time flies.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have like 2 drum questions, and I got this is a question about the camp.
Okay, well, let's get to the question about the camp, because I am going to have to jet at
Like,
7 on the nose.
What exactly do you cover in the camp?
Anything you want. So I usually reach out to the campers ahead of time and so I email everybody before the camp starts, like several times. And I get a feel for what everybody's looking to talk about. And then I start sending out PDF lessons on this stuff. So we talk about developing your buzz rolls. We talk about developing your feel in between straight and swing. There are 5 meters tunes that we usually start off the camp talking about that help you dial in your straight and swing. Talk about shuffles. Talk about rudimental application of the drums. We talk about different stickings. Some of my favorite stickings, some of the other stickings that have shown up. We talk about tuning. We talk about brushes. We talk about all kinds of different things. And I mean, it's 3 days, and it always goes by so fast. Any of my guys who are in here, who are regulars, any of my repeat offenders, if you want to give a shout out about the camp and how fun it is. It's become like a family reunion every year. This year we're going to have to do it virtually, but it is almost sold out. And I do encourage anybody who's thinking about it to please come do it, because you'll walk away with so many PDFs and so much stuff to work on that it is a fun time, and it will give you a lot of material to work on. So Nick, you got another question?
Yeah.
Before we jump?
Let's see. So there's a quite a few.
I see some questions coming in from YouTube. Is YouTube
Yeah,
working now?
YouTube's going keeps cutting in and out. So
Keeps cutting in and out.
So I don't know what's going on with that. I think it might be on their side because we're pumping out a good stream on this end. So sorry, the internet gods are not shining upon us today.
Yeah, the internet completely went down earlier today. No fault of our own. Just had to reset the router. The AC is off.
Yeah.
It's one of these days.
It's probably because of that hurricane, messing with all the electricity and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Here's a cool one about your technique, stick technique. I studied with Joe Morello years ago, and I remembered him talking about drummers who would grip back pretty far on the left stick. He felt that it was more work for the left hand. Is there a specific reason why you like to grip back so far on the left stick? This is from Todd Egger.
Yeah, it just depends. Todd, usually I like to have my fulcrum right here around the flag on the Vic First stick. And then it depends. Like sometimes when I'm trying to play slinkier, I may pull back. And to be honest with you, because that gives you more leverage up here, which makes the stick slower. Really, that's coming from Steve Jordan, really. He talks about when he's trying to lay back a backbeat, he'll choke up on the front of the right stick and then choke back on the left so that just the time that it takes to swing this much wood, I mean, it's microscopic. I mean, it's milliseconds we're talking about. But, a groove is either happening or not because of placement, because of, beat placement and phrasing, of course. But sometimes, when I was doing this slinky buzz roll stuff, maybe I was choked back on the stick. It wasn't necessarily conscious, but maybe that was happening. But to be honest with you, Todd, when I do that, the stick wants to buzz more when I choke back up a little bit more. So if you noticed me doing that, it wasn't really intentional. I do usually like to find a nice balance point especially on the left stick. On the right sometimes though, because, to be honest with you, I'm not very tall. So, to get around the drums, sometimes I like to choke back on the right stick just so I can get around the drums. So maybe you saw that. But when playing rudimental stuff or technique-based stuff, I do like to have my fulcrum closer to the flag on the Vic Firth stick. I think they try to place the flag pretty close to the balance point, the fulcrum of the sticks. It definitely works for mine, that's the fulcrum for me. And I usually try to stick close to that, but when playing, sometimes depending on the vibe or the context, I may choke back a little bit.
I think this is kind of a funny question.
Okay.
This is a good Stanton question, I think.
All right.
It says, washing from the kitchen. Do you have your own version of Johnny's Getting Ready Spaghetti, i.e. pre-show / session meals?
Getting ready, eating spaghetti, going to the gig, feeling like a pig. Oh. So I've played that song where Johnny is singing, rapping, beat poeting on top of it, and then we'll play together, and then so when I started singing it, I couldn't help but start playing drums and thinking of Johnny, but I don't have a poem like that, but I've got 100 beats that go to that. So I do want to say thank y'all so much for tuning in. And I plan on being back next week. And the things that I just want to mention to keep an eye out for are the Tipitina's Save Tips stream. It's free. Saturday, November 14th, Tipitinas.com. Spirit of New Orleans virtual drum camp. You can go to StantonMoore.com to sign up. I hope that you do. There's only a couple spots left. And then you can go to StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com and sign up for the 14-day trial. So thank y'all so much.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm going to be looking at some of these comments and questions, so keep asking away. Oh, I forgot to mention, virtual tip jar is open, and that's in the description, right, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
If you feel so compelled, it's there in the description. I really do appreciate all of you tuning in. It's always good to interact with y'all. And until next week, y'all be good, be safe, take care. See you down the line.
Later, y'all.